excited to have the one and only Munson Steed on the line with me from Rolling Out Magazine, Steed Media, and what's the new company's name?
Playful Genius.
Playful Genius. We're going to talk more about Playful Genius coming up. But Munson, so glad to have you on the line today. How are you?
Fantastic, Michelle. Thank you so much for having me.
Awesome. And you know what? Let's get this out of the way. I'm actually leaving town. You're coming into town. We're going to be passing each other on 737s or something like that for an event here in Dallas. You want to talk about it?
Now we've got Sister with Superpowers, which is one of our key kind of engagement moments for sisters that are doing phenomenal things. So we're excited about coming to Dallas. The women of Dallas are doing such a great job. So I'm really happy to come to Dallas. It's exciting.
Yeah, we're happy to have you. And you know what? This is an evolution of an event that you've always had. Top 25 women in whatever city, right?
You should know. You've been one. So you should know.
It's a great run-up to say how we actually met. You know, my agency, M Strategies Inc., that was around for about a decade before I went back into the big agency and then ultimately in a Fortune 9 at AT&T. It was doing business with Rolling Out back then. So I knew about Munson Steed, but I hadn't met him yet. Yeah. And lo and behold, I was invited to this very event to be honored. Top 25 women in Dallas. And Munson was there in the house. And that was in 2017, was it?
I think so.
Something like that?
Yeah, they all blur together after 20 years.
It really does. But you guys do really good work, and you've always been that stalwart in the community for information on entertainment, technology, business, and anything else y'all cover. If you were to describe Rolling Out, how would you describe it?
We have a new definition, kind of a cultural utility.
Oh.
So as people continue to leverage, there'll be more things to do. Obviously, individuals can advertise their events. We highlight individuals on our site. We produce custom content for our clients. Clearly, you'll see a whole lot more in terms of how you can utilize and integrate Rolling Out just yourself with our app that launches in February. So culture utility is kind of the place that we're going to be. It makes sense for what we are. We're that place in the community where we recognize people and give people a resource. We want to be a bigger resource to our community, both digitally. So the app will help leverage that, and it'll be very transactional. Mm-hmm. So our community will actually be able to do cultural transactions. So I think that's very key to us being able to see each other, support each other, and love each other.
Fantastic. You know, you just hit on something. Everybody that comes on this show sits at the intersection of tech, culture, and business. And as an entrepreneur, of course, you have that business covered. You know, you and your lovely wife, Christina, who happens to be one of my girls, you know, you guys are one of the last Black family-owned media companies out there. Is that right?
You know, I think there are a few. I have a few friends that are in the business. Mm-hmm. Obviously, the members of the NMPA are definitely working to pivot there, and there's 200 there. And most of those are family-owned. But in terms of national publications, the Bonners, and Bernard obviously is a friend, was there. And for our dear brother who now owns Rich over at Essence, that's now family-owned. And then obviously our dear friends at One Media with Miss Hughes and Alfred. So I think those are the family-owned businesses.
And Black Enterprise.
And obviously I just spent the weekend with Butch and my dear family friends over at Black Enterprise. So, and they do a phenomenal job. So I was at his event in Miami.
Awesome.
And I look forward to going with Christina to the women's event in Vegas. So
yeah, you know, their Women of Power Summit is always awesome.
Yeah,
and
it's incredible.
know, I contribute for them, and I was actually a coach for them at Ford. So I'm real tight with Butch and the crew. But you know what, Munson? I think this is a really good time to have our culture soup moment. What do you say?
Let's do it.
Awesome. Well, look, you just talked about something that's very very much on the minds and hearts of everybody online and on social, and that is how to get your information online. So Rolling Out is one of those publications that started out in print like a lot of others. Eventually you probably online got your website, but now it's driven by social media now more than ever. Would you say that's true?
I definitely say that there's quite a bit leveraged digitally, and I definitely think social media plays a huge role in all of that. But I think it's also an Easter egg kind of scenario going on. I think the expansion of social media, I don't know that people would call LinkedIn at one time social media, but it looks like Facebook to me. I don't know that people would have thought the same for many other things that you see. Websites kind of have begun to mirror this connectivity, digital connectivity that social media offers. So if you look at many sites, you can now like something, share something. So they're playing a whole role in terms. So for content and all of us content producers, it's more of an Easter egg kind of thing. You want to be able to be on Roku. You want to be able to leverage on HBO. You want to be able to have something like Xfinity. You definitely want to have a strategy for YouTube. So I think the difference is it's not just because if YouTube's not social media, I don't know what is.
Right.
So I'm not sure and I'm not certain that it's just social media. I think many people are now digital, and you have to have your content like Easter eggs just kind of hidden so that people go to whatever platform they're on digitally or socially, because YouTube is very social to me, or SoundCloud is very social to me, or even Spotify, with the advantage of an advent of more audio files coming in and playing that podcast model. So I'm not sure and certain that it's just one, because I think there are people that are winning many downloads, and there's no more what we would call the scheduling or appointment TV, appointment radio. Because if I hang out with Charlemagne, I might catch him at night and catch up on what he's doing while I'm sitting there with him and ask him about something like that. And I'd be catching that off YouTube. I wouldn't necessarily be watching The Breakfast Club. I don't have to have that same moment that everybody else has, because they're in snippets. So I think that's just how it is.
Well, you know what? You touched on something that's very important. And Horowitz Research pointed this out last year in their report about the multicultural consumer. We are content omnivores. So we're on every platform, everywhere, all the time. Always on, right? So is this the key to black media's resurgence? Because we've seen several go by the wayside. God bless them, you know. But then we've also seen some rejuvenate. We've seen others give birth, like Blavity, just boom, right? Digital, everywhere. Is that part of the strategy to survive and thrive?
I'm not sure that it's just, I think sometimes things are like shiny toys. So I'm very proud of Morgan and the team over there. So that's a generational thing. I think people say, oh, this is the new toy for the moment. So I wouldn't say their scale matches a scale of even what Digital One has today.
Sure.
So I mean, we've got to just say that, or our network in terms of the size, in terms of that, or localization. So when you think of the terrestrial radio that Digital One has, or the locations that Rolling Out has, we have a very different relationship. I think the difference, and I wouldn't see that. I think that the Shade Room and people like that have leveraged technology at a different level, and I think that they deserve just as much. You have young brands, the guys De Jesus, or some of the other young men that are on other platforms like Showtime. I think those are examples. And I think the other thing when you say media landscape is the advent of opening a door to Hollywood. So that's another media door. So I don't think the landscape of what John Johnson had as an offer or was offered existed. It's not like he got 20 channels.
Yeah.
It's not like at the same time that everybody else is getting a cable channel. He had a cable channel at that one time. If you look at many of those individuals from Cox Cable, they had got a whole cable system.
Right.
So it's a very different thing. And I think that when you say launch, I think there's a constant evolution constantly happening. So I wouldn't say that it's one. I think WorldStar was an example for the brother that created WorldStar on a platform that garnered X million African Americans. So I think the next generation leverages what they have. I think those of us that are in the market embrace other technologies and to kind of move forward to pivot every day. Because there's nothing that stays the same. It's a constant evolution.
So how is rolling out evolving?
But I think for us, it's evolution all the way around. I think it's very much being a cultural utility where individuals find that they can utilize our brand much more than they could and feel differently about using it. So I think you'll see a great announcement once we do this launch in February on where our capacity to touch you, feel you, because I think that's very much what our brand does when we're in Dallas. We're touching, feeling, recognizing. Now, how individuals can leverage more with our brand, share our brand more, get more media muscle, get more media recognition, do more transactions. Those are the things that are next for rolling out. But we stay in the lab. I mean, it's whether we're doing a VOD channel, whether we're doing any type of other integration, leveraging. We've got rolling out IQ, which is a whole digital data component that'll come out in February as well. And I think that's just where the market is. You don't want to be a place where you're not appealing to be a agency of some sort, to have the capacity to talent acquisition, which many people come to us for talent, and we provide that as well. And then obviously the evolution of our convention. So after 3 years, we've got it, we pivot.
Talking about Ride, right?
Yeah, right. So Ride is a constant example of how we've evolved into a event to actually evangelize the community in one location and then train. We're not that location where you kiss up to the speakers. We're that place where the speakers get out and actually access, mention, give individuals a toolbox, and then go in and train. You don't come to Ride to actually just listen to somebody's success stories. That's the last thing that we're interested in. We do not want a kiss up kind of convention. We got enough of that. Too many people in our community pay for something and do not have any tools once they have left that convention.
That's the truth.
That is not what it's about. If you're not going to leave with a toolkit, if you're not going to leave transformed, then you definitely need to come to Ride so you can see how a personal, technological transformation happens from being at a convention. That includes you.
That's that's awesome. Well, I'd love to be at Ride and share some of my tools. Listen,
Well, we do Ride Labs, so it's not like
yeah.
everything has to be huge. We can host something in Dallas at one of our partners, and we've got several partners there in Dallas. So we do Ride Labs leading up to Ride. So I think there's an opportunity for some obviously big
Collaboration.
brand
Yeah, I'm
collaboration.
planning
Sure.
my first live event in January time frame, something like that. But we can pivot, but it's a business boot camp.
Okay.
Yeah, several of them leading up and in different cities. So anyway, we can talk about that. That's awesome. Well, listen, you had a very successful Ride conference just a couple weeks ago, right?
We did. It was 2 weeks ago.
How many folks showed up?
1,500.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
awesome. So
Yeah.
this is year 3? Is that right?
Year 3.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
On
So,
September 25th and 6th of 2020, we've got number 4.
okay. That's awesome. And make sure I'm in
So
the
you can put it
house.
on your calendar now.
Yes. Make sure I'm in the house. Okay, so talk about the books and the toys. Something for kids.
Well, we're excited at more than anything to continue to create great culturally relevant product. And part of that is being able to provide culturally relevant reading materials, learning materials, education materials to our community. So Playful Genius is the name of the company that we now have that houses our brand for young girls, obviously, Little Professor Sky, which is
Yeah.
right here. So Little Professor Sky. And she has 3 books, and she's all about science, STEM, leadership, and obviously technology. At the same time, we have Adam Smart, which is for our little boys, and he's all about science and space and math and sports. And then, of course, we have the Plush Crew, which is all about our 0 to first grade. So it's
The
kind of
little bitty ones.
for the babies. And we have an alphabet book called Alphabet Safari coming out. They've got a coloring book called 300 Words I Know, and good, cool stuff. The other stuff that we'll do is they'll have an app by the summer so
Oh,
that kids
good.
can actually learn online at Playful Genius. So we're excited about where the direction we're going with that particular company to educate, inspire our community in a cultural way.
Well, that's awesome. You know what? This is really good work. I'm very, very proud of what you're doing. And you
Thank you.
know what? How did you start? What's your story, Munson?
I don't know. It was 20 years ago, so it's kind of hard.
You slept since then?
I would no. I was talking to L.A. Reid and a couple of other friends of mine that have been in the business. You kind of begin to revise your history. Now, why did I start the business? I think there was an opportunity, and always is an opportunity to recognize my community. When we started, there weren't a lot of people be on the cover of Vogue or any other alternative weekly, whether it was, I forget the name of the Dallas Weekly, but anyhow.
Yeah, that's it. The Dallas Weekly.
House Weekly. So
Mm-hmm.
it literally there wasn't that African American. They weren't putting Kanye on the cover at that moment, and we were at that moment when Outkast, Atlanta was killing it, which we've been
Yeah.
for the last 20 years, just came about, and it was time to recognize obviously entertainers, but professionals like yourself and technologists and the greatness in our community, and that's been our voice, and
Yeah.
that pretty much has been our brand proposition the entire time. Um, I think for us, it's also hands-on. So we touch our community. So we're not just a digital mammoth. We actually are in the streets. We actually have offices. We have people, and we're getting ready to grow our offices and our people and the amount of people that can actually publish and work with us. So we're excited about that. Other than that, there's just a need. There's a need even more now when you think of 2020 and what we're all going to be collectively pushing toward. And the other thing is we're a bridge. So we do both young and old. It's not like
Mm-hmm.
we do just one little set. We just do hip hop.
Mm-hmm.
We do community and African American culture.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me.
That's excellent. Well, you know what? I have a lot of people who are entrepreneurs
Hmm.
or people who are striving to be entrepreneurs. Folks that are in corporate that are trying to get their side hustle together, and do a little something different to get their multiple streams of income. I think everybody understands now they can't really put all their eggs in one basket. You always give some nuggets and some good wise advice on Instagram. If you don't follow them, you should.
Ah,
You do. What kind of advice do you have for folks who are running businesses and wanting to start businesses as a sage entrepreneur?
um, read, read, read. I think there are tons of great reading that has to occur before you ever start a business. So
Mm-hmm.
I would say, number one, research before you even spend a dime. I've got a new book coming out in February, and it's all about re. So I think research is part of what you want to do. Reevaluate. I think people don't. They do the research, then they don't even reevaluate their own research and
Yeah.
say, "Hey." I think the other thing for us is the whole idea of references. So most people don't have enough references in their lives, and for me, that's the whole building your own board. So
Mm-hmm.
if you don't have a mastermind group, just like you do, people that you can call on, I think before you start a business, put together a mastermind group. Because for every legal bill you have, you shouldn't have to pay. You
Yeah.
should have somebody that's an attorney that can at least give you the first hour free.
Mm-hmm.
I think the same for your accountant. I think the same. You need to know at least four people in that field that you want to be in,
Right.
because that will help you get the experience that you don't have. And I think sometimes we don't volunteer or get the experience from other individuals, and we just have to let our egos. And I think stay away from being a drunken entrepreneur. That's
Tell me
the
about that.
But a drunken entrepreneur believes that he can do it all. He
Oh.
believes that his money will make it happen. And
Mm.
before you know it, the money will be gone. And
Drunk on
before
his
you know
own
it,
wine.
you're on his own supply of dreams and pushed and ego. And
Mm-hmm.
people got to know what ego means, easing God out. And as an
Oh.
entrepreneur, you got to be able to ease
Wait, now
God
that was
in.
a word. Can we go back and
No,
say that again? Because
no,
that was a word.
no, it was
Ego
just
means,
easing God out.
yeah,
So, and entrepreneurs can easily do that. You can literally believe that your will be done. And that is just not the way of being an entrepreneur. You've got to have a spiritual journey and purpose to all the things that you do as an entrepreneur. because that's half of the battle. Receiving your dream, being able to live your dream, empower others through your dream, but at the same time being cautious to understand that there's a bigger principle and purpose for everything we do as entrepreneurs. I don't want to just make the books for children because I want to change the lives of those children,
Yeah.
because that's what God is empowering me to do with what I am doing. So if there's no personal or professional value to having my products inspire others to be able to feel the greatness and to actually know that they have value beyond what it is as an entrepreneur, then I fail. I think that you've got to have some spiritual value and purpose for all missions
Yes.
that you take on as an entrepreneur. I think the other thing is just wanting to change the place that your product stimulates energy, ideas, and all of those things. But for me, if you can't really, I want people to cautiously move into entrepreneurship.
Right.
I want people to be good stewards and read enough biographies, have studied enough books that they don't spend a dime before they test and learn. And I think I can't say how much you need to research.
That's
I can't.
awesome.
I cannot say how often you should reevaluate everything that you're doing. If that's not where you're going as an entrepreneur, you're going to get stuck, and you're not going to look back, and you're not going to want to look back, because the truth is in those numbers. The truth is in that reevaluation. The truth is in your research. So for me, that's a real important aspect for any younger entrepreneurs. I believe in having one for them, which is the them is everybody I'm responsible to, everybody that I'm accountable to. I think you should have a solid job. If that's not what it is, if you don't understand what it is to be an entrepreneur, then I believe you should have one for them. That's everybody you love. And then one for you. And that's where your entrepreneurship should come. And it's in that order. That way, everything's in order. You're taking care of your family, then you do one for you. You're taking care of your family, then you stretch out a little bit more. But you don't risk it all and then all of a sudden hurt everybody around you based on entrepreneurship.
Absolutely. So much wisdom just jam packed in everything you just said. But I want to draw something out. One, you said, do not lean into your own understanding. That's so important. And the other thing that you said that's very important, because I have even coaching clients that are anxious to start businesses because they feel like, gee, I don't want to have all my eggs in one basket, which is a very wise thing to do. However, they have not taken the time to understand the purpose. And if it is, spirit-led or even founded in your own store and your value proposition, right? So what they end up doing is just trying to make money for money's sake. And that's kind of a cautionary tale too, wouldn't you say?
No, I think that's part of the drunkenness. I think that's that. I think some people don't know what entrepreneurs are. Now, entrepreneurs, I remember reading, and it was talking about Ted Turner, and it talked about how Ted had been part of the America's Cup, and he was on his boat, and he was out of his office 250 days, and he was on this quest to win this race. And it said that entrepreneurs are individuals who sell a product or service in their absence. So for most of us, when you think of our community, and a friend of mine runs the Michigan Chamber of African American Business Chamber, and at the same time, he says 1.1, every member whose company is 1.1. So most of our community does job creation. They create a job for themselves. They cannot collect money in their absence. If they're not there, then the business isn't there. So for us, we need to understand what entrepreneurship is. It's selling a product or service in the absence of the owner, of the leader, and it's a process and a system. And so those processes, systems of collecting money for a product and service in your absence is much more key. Most people are not entrepreneurs. They're in the process of doing job creation. They've created a job for themselves. They're not going to take a 30-day vacation and their business is still going to be intact.
Right.
Because they have to show up to collect the money.
Right.
So I think many of us need to understand and create processes so that we can actually be entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Automation is even easier these days because of technology, wouldn't you say? So once you have those processes down, you can automate the ones that make sense, the ones that don't skimp on your customer service or your client interface. What do you think?
Well, I think people like you think bigger than all of us because you're young, you're thinking. I think there are digital applications for almost everything that is going to come forward. That's from customer service to how digital, in terms of responsiveness, taking polls immediately once a person utilizes your service. I think they're just built in. I think everything is built in, and more people are working to sell that system every day. So whether it's a platform like Spotify, you want digital music, they got it. If you want Shopify, you want to do retail, they got a system. If you want to do a scan and know how people feel after they bought a cup of coffee, Stripe has it right there for you. Square has it right there for you. They can actually do quizzes right after that. So I think the systems are beginning, different platforms, every platform provides something digitally to kind of create more processes. Part of the entrepreneurs is your thought process, the process of having a team that can help you understand and kind of evaluate. And most of us don't have boards. We don't have 5 or 10 people that literally are listening to where we're going and can kind of be cautionary, and you listen to them as an entrepreneur. It's really important. As I sit here and still have to think, I got someone who depends on me. So I don't have new ideas, too many new ideas in the process that she doesn't know about.
Right.
That's part of our brain trust, and you need to always be increasing your brain trust. Most of us don't visit and meet or ask to meet individuals we don't know who have bigger brain trust, but we should. So I think the other thing when I say referrals, you want to ask and refer yourself to other people too. You want to actually offer yourself to actually go see a few headquarters that may not be sending you an invitation, but you might refer yourself in so you can get a invitation.
Right. Excellent. I could talk to you all day about this stuff,
I'm
but I'm
not
not
sure.
going to.
Ah,
I'm not going to spend all your time. I'm so happy you came on, Munson. Where can we find you online, on social media, and
uh,
you know what, your digital platforms?
I'm on IG a little bit. I'm going to learn to tweet a little bit more. I definitely have YouTube coming up, but I've taken most of the time to play with Instagram. It's fun.
Yeah.
Uh, Other than that, rolling out. Got a
Yeah.
ton of pub pages. Yeah, yeah,
And is
yeah.
that at Munson Steed on Instagram?
I think I'm pretty much once a Steed every. I'm those cool names. I'm gonna leave that up to people like you, who I'm gonna keep it simple for a little while.
Well,
Still it
we can
down.
find you. That's the idea.
That's it. Munson Steed will get you there.
Awesome. Awesome. Munson, thank you so much for coming on the Culture
Shell,
Soup
thank you.
podcast.
I'm very proud of you. Thank you so much.
Thank
Continue.
you. And we'll talk to you again soon.
You got it. You're the best.
Thank
The
you.
Culture Soup Podcast is a production of No Size Communication, LLC.